Welcome back to the channel Rare Coins History, where coins aren't just change, they're chapters of history, hidden treasures, and sometimes, surprise jackpots. If you're a collector, a curious viewer, or someone who's just found an old coin and wants to know if it's special, you're in the right place. Today, we're putting the spotlight on a coin that most people wouldn't give a second glance. It's small. It's silver-colored. It's one you've probably handled thousands of times without a second thought. But what if I told you that one particular version of the 1990 United States Jefferson nickel, yes, the 5-cent coin, could be worth a fortune? Not every nickel is created equal, and by the end of this video, you'll see why some 1990 Jefferson nickels with a mint mark are now selling for jaw-dropping amounts. So grab your coin jar, because you might just have one of these valuable coins in your own home. Let's jump right into the story behind this fascinating little coin. The year was 1990. America was going through a time of transition. The Cold War was winding down, grunge music was rising, and technology was beginning to take its first baby steps toward the digital revolution. It was the end of one era and the beginning of another. And amidst all the cultural and political change, the U.S. Mint was quietly producing billions of coins to keep the economy moving. Among them was the humble Jefferson nickel, named for the third President of the United States, Thomas Jefferson. Introduced in 1938, this coin replaced the Buffalo nickel and has been a mainstay of American pockets and wallets for generations. But despite its everyday use, the Jefferson nickel is packed with symbolism and rich design elements that many overlook. Let's break it down. On the obverse side, we see a left-facing profile of Thomas Jefferson, designed by sculptor Felix Schlag. Jefferson's expression is serious, dignified, and statesmanlike. Above his head, the motto, "In God We Trust," arches gracefully, while the word "Liberty" and the date 1990 appear to the right. And, depending on where the coin was minted, just next to the date, you'll find a tiny letter, AD for Denver or AP for Philadelphia. That tiny mint mark? It's small, but it's crucial. As you'll soon see, it can make all the difference in the world. Flip the coin over, and you're greeted with a detailed image of Monticello, Jefferson's stately Virginia home. The symmetry, the classical architecture, and the overall balance of the design reflect Jefferson's own love for design, order, and Enlightenment ideals. Below the building are the words, Monticello, followed by 5 cents and United States of America. And arched along the top of the reverse, you'll find the timeless phrase, E pluribus unum, out of many, one. Now, 1990 wasn't a rare year for nickels. In fact, hundreds of millions were produced between the Philadelphia and Denver mints. The coins were meant for everyday use, not for collectors. But that's exactly what makes this story so interesting. You see, out of those hundreds of millions, only a tiny number of nickels ended up being different. Exceptionally rare. Some were struck with errors, some preserved in extraordinary condition, and others featured unusual characteristics that make collectors today willing to pay staggering prices just to own them. Let's start with the condition factor. Most coins go through a tough life. They're passed from hand to hand, dropped on sidewalks, scraped against other coins in cash registers, or left in damp drawers where they tarnish. All that use wears away the fine details that make a coin special, but a few coins, just a few, were never used. These are called uncirculated coins or mint state coins. These nickels never saw a vending machine or a parking meter. Some were pulled directly from fresh rolls and stored carefully. Others were accidentally forgotten in bank boxes or coin folders, keeping them in near-perfect shape. These mint state nickels are graded by professionals using a 70-point scale. A coin with a grade of MS-65 or higher is considered premium, and collectors are always on the hunt for Jefferson nickels that still gleam with original luster, full detail, and clean surfaces. But condition alone isn't what sends prices into the stratosphere. The real excitement comes when you mix top condition with something unexpected. A minting error. Let's talk about a few of these. One of the most sought-after varieties is the full steps designation. Monticello's staircase, those fine horizontal lines at the base of the building, are often weakly struck or worn away quickly. But if a nickel shows all the steps clearly and crisply, it's labeled a full steps, FS, nickel, and its value skyrockets. Then there are double die errors, where elements like the date, lettering, or even Monticello's dome appear to have a shadow or doubling effect due to a misalignment during striking. These are incredibly rare and extremely collectible, and don't forget the off-center strikes, where the design is pushed off the coin center, leaving part of the design missing. Or clipped planchets, where the coin looks like it had a bite taken out of it. Or even die cracks, where small raised lines appear on the coin from fractures in the minting die. Now picture this, a 1990 Jefferson nickel, minted in Denver. The coin has never been circulated. It's graded as MS66 or higher, with brilliant luster. It has full steps, making the Monticello image razor sharp. And to top it all off, it features a rare double die error, verified and certified by a grading agency. At that point, you're not just holding a coin. You're holding a piece of numismatic art. A piece of American history. A 5-cent coin transformed into something far greater. So what would a collector pay for such a rare coin? What is the true value of a 1990 Jefferson nickel with a mint mark, flawless condition, full steps designation, and a confirmed mint error? That, my friends, brings us to the big reveal. Point 1. Such coin, a remarkable 1990 Jefferson nickel struck in Denver, graded in high mint state condition, with full steps and a visible double die error, was sold at auction for a breathtaking $85,000. Yes, you heard that right. A 5-cent coin. $85,000, and the most amazing part? Coins like this are still out there. They're in old change jars, forgotten folders, and hidden rolls of bank coins. Maybe even in your pocket change right now. So here's your mission: go check your nickels. Especially those from 1990 with a D or P mint mark. Look for sharp details, clean steps on Monticello, signs of doubling, or anything that seems just a little off. Then, if you think you found something special, get it evaluated by a professional grading service, because the next rare nickel isn't in a museum. It might be sitting quietly in your kitchen drawer, waiting for someone to finally realize what it is. Today, we're diving into a piece of American pocket change that most people wouldn't look twice at, the 1972 Jefferson nickel. It's easy to overlook. It's easy to spend. But if you've got a sharp eye and a little knowledge, that simple 5-cent coin might just surprise you. You see, what seems ordinary on the outside may carry hidden details, historical weight, and even a secret minting error that could make collectors lose their minds. The coin we're spotlighting today, the 1972 Jefferson nickel with a mint mark, is one of those special coins. By the time we finish this video, you'll know exactly why it deserves your attention, what to look for, and how one of these nickels became worth more than most people's cars. Let's take a trip back in time to 1972. Richard Nixon was president. Gasoline was just 55 cents a gallon. The Vietnam War was still raging, and America was divided in many ways. But in the midst of all this, daily life continued. People worked, shopped, saved, and spent, and in their pockets jingled a familiar sound. Among the coins was the Jefferson nickel, quietly doing its job, unaware that decades later, it would become a collector's dream. The Jefferson nickel has been a staple of American coinage since 1938, when it replaced the beloved Buffalo nickel. Its design was both a tribute and a symbol, honoring Thomas Jefferson, the third President of the United States, and capturing his legacy in copper-nickel alloy. On the obverse side, we have Jefferson's left-facing profile, designed by German-American sculptor Felix Schlag. Jefferson's expression is calm, contemplative, and purposeful. The inscriptions include, "In God We Trust," on the left curve, "Liberty," to the right, and the date, 1972, pressed just below. But just next to the date, on some of these coins, there's a small, almost invisible detail that changes everything: the mint mark. If the coin was minted in Denver, you'll find a small D. If it was struck in San Francisco, it might carry an S, though most of those were proofs. And if you see no mint mark, it was struck in Philadelphia. The mint mark may be small, but it plays a huge role in a coin's identity and value. Now, flip the coin over and you're met with one of the most architecturally iconic reverse designs in U.S. coinage, Jefferson's home, Monticello. The neoclassical structure stands proudly at the center of the coin, with the name Monticello beneath it, followed by 5 cents and United States of America. Encircling the top are the words E pluribus unum, out of many, one. It's a compact design, but rich with symbolism. Here's where things start to get interesting. In 1972, the U.S. Mint struck millions of Jefferson nickels. The Philadelphia Mint struck over 300 million, and Denver added over 250 million more. The San Francisco Mint produced proof coins, high-quality coins made for collectors. So with so many coins in circulation, you might think there's nothing special about the 1972 nickel, but you'd be wrong. You see, not all 1972 nickels are created equal. Among those hundreds of millions of coins are a small number, just a tiny fraction, that have characteristics so rare, so unusual, that collectors today are willing to pay enormous sums to get their hands on one. Let's talk about what makes a Jefferson nickel from 1972 stand out from the rest. First, condition matters. Big time. Coins that have been in circulation get banged up. Scratches, wear, discoloration, you name it. Most of the 1972 nickels you'll find in change today are in worn condition. But some coins avoided that fate. They were pulled from fresh mint rolls. They were placed into collections and never touched again. These coins stayed crisp, clean, and sharp. Professional grading services like PCGS and NGC use a 70-point scale to assess a coin's condition. A grade of MS65 or higher, mint state, means the coin looks almost untouched, like it just left the mint. And if it has strong luster, clean surfaces, and no major contact marks, its value increases significantly. Now, let's get into what really turns a 5-cent coin into a 6-figure treasure: errors and varieties. Some 1972 nickels were struck with rare minting errors that weren't caught during production. These can include double die obverse, where parts of the design, like the date or Jefferson's face, appear to be doubled due to a misalignment during striking. Full steps designation, this refers to the staircase on Monticello. If all 6 steps are clearly visible and not worn or blended together, the coin is designated full steps by graders, making it far more valuable. Off-center strikes, where the design is misaligned, resulting in part of the image being off the coin. Clipped planchets, where the coin is missing a curved section, almost like someone took a bite out of it. Repunched mint marks, where the mint mark was accidentally struck more than once, causing a shadow effect. Each of these errors adds rarity. Combine that rarity with a pristine mint state condition, and you've got something extremely desirable to collectors. Now, imagine this. You're going through your grandfather's old coin collection. There's a plastic folder with a bunch of Jefferson nickels. Most look average. But one stands out. It's from 1972. There's a small D mint mark. You notice the steps on Monticello are perfectly struck, sharp, clean, defined. You flip it over, squint at the date, and something looks strange. Could it be doubled? You hold your breath and decide to have it professionally graded. Weeks later, the coin returns with a certified grade of MS66 with full steps and confirmation of a double die obverse. Now, you're no longer holding pocket change. You're holding a collectible. A conversation starter. A legacy. So, what's a coin like that really worth? Not a typical 1972 nickel. Not one with scratches or wear. But one with all the right elements: pristine condition, full steps, and a rare mint error, all verified and authenticated. That particular kind of 1972 Jefferson nickel has stunned collectors and even surprised auction houses. Because one such coin, just one, sold for an astonishing $93,000. That's right, a nickel, from 1972. $93,000. That's the magic of coin collecting. It's not always about gold or silver. Sometimes it's about finding beauty, rarity, and perfection in the coins most people toss into a jar without a second thought. So here's your call to action: check your nickels. Look at the date. Look for mint marks. Examine Monticello's steps. Search for doubling. And if you think you found something rare, don't wait, have it checked by a professional grading service. because that one overlooked coin sitting quietly in your kitchen drawer or piggy bank might just be the hidden gem that changes everything. Today, we're going to take a deep dive into a nickel that not only has a rich and powerful place in American history, but could also be worth a life-changing amount of money. Yes, we're talking about the 1943 Jefferson nickel, a coin born during a time of war, a coin with a secret beneath the surface, and a coin that just might be sitting in your collection, completely unnoticed. Most people pass by nickels without a second thought. They jingle in pockets, gather dust in drawers, and slide into vending machines without ever being examined. But once in a while, a single nickel can defy the odds, and become the kind of collectible that gets coin experts excited and collectors bidding fast and high. To understand why the 1943 Jefferson nickel is so special, we need to rewind the clock, way back to one of the most intense moments in modern world history. The year was 1943. The world was in chaos. World War II was at its peak. The United States had entered the war after the attack on Pearl Harbor in 1941, and the nation was fully mobilized. Every factory was producing tanks, ships, planes, and ammunition. Every citizen was asked to ration and contribute to the war effort. Metal, especially copper and nickel, was desperately needed for military manufacturing. That included the very same metal used in U.S. coins. So, in response to the shortage, the U.S. Mint made a bold move. It changed the composition of the Jefferson nickel for the first time. Instead of using the traditional 75% copper and 25% nickel mix, the 1943 nickels were minted with 35% silver, 56% copper, and 9% manganese. This new formula freed up nickel for the war, but it also had some unintended consequences, ones that would later make this coin a treasure in the eyes of collectors. This change in composition makes the 1943 nickel part of what's known as the war nickels, minted from 1942 to 1945. These coins have a few fascinating traits that set them apart from regular nickels. First, let's talk about the design. On the obverse side, you'll see the familiar portrait of Thomas Jefferson, facing left. Designed by Felix Schlag, this image has graced the nickel since 1938. Around the top arc, you'll see, "In God We Trust," and to the right, the word "Liberty" followed by the date, 1943. Just below the date, on many of these coins, sits a small but critical feature, the mint mark. Now here's where it gets really interesting. For the first time in U.S. history, the mint mark was moved to a highly visible spot on the reverse side, right above Monticello, Jefferson's famous Virginia home. And not only was its location changed, but it was also enlarged. These bold mint marks, P for Philadelphia, D for Denver, and S for San Francisco, make these war nickels easy to identify, even for beginners. Flip the coin over, and you'll see Monticello standing proud, with E Pluribus Unum above, and United States of America, and 5 cents below. But look just above the dome, and that oversized mint mark gives away the coin's wartime origin. It was only in these silver alloy nickels that the Philadelphia Mint used a P mint mark at all, making it an immediate collector clue. Now, you might be wondering, what's so special about these coins? After all, didn't the Mint make millions of them? Yes, they did. The 1943 Jefferson nickel wasn't rare at the time. But over the decades, many of them were melted down for their silver content or heavily circulated, which means most surviving examples today are scratched, worn, or damaged. That brings us to the first major factor in value, condition. Coins are graded on a 70-point scale. A coin with a grade of MS60 to MS70 is considered mint state, meaning it was never used in circulation. Finding a 1943 Jefferson nickel in mint state, with its details perfectly preserved and its luster intact, is like finding a time capsule. And among these, some stand out even more, those with the full steps designation. Full steps refers to the steps on the front of Monticello. If the coin was struck cleanly enough that all 5 or 6 steps are visible and not worn together, that coin receives the full steps designation. This is incredibly rare for war nickels because the wartime alloy didn't strike as cleanly as standard metal compositions. Now, let's throw in the wild card, minting errors. Some 1943 nickels have doubled dies, especially noticeable in the lettering, where it looks like there's a faint shadow or doubling. Others have die cracks, repunched mint marks, or off-center strikes. These errors often happened in a rush to keep up with wartime demand, and while the mistakes were unintentional, today they add major value. Let's say you come across a 1943 D Jefferson nickel. It's clean. It's sharp. The steps on Monticello are full. The fields, the flat surfaces, are smooth and free of marks. There's a double die error on the reverse, and the coin has been certified by a top grading service like PCGS or NGC as MS67 full steps. That's not just a collectible. That's a treasure. The combination of high grade, full steps, rare error, and historic wartime composition makes it a dream find for any collector, and a must-have for serious Jefferson nickel enthusiasts. Now imagine this coin going to auction. Bidders from around the world are competing to add it to their collection. The numbers rise. Higher. Higher. Until finally, the hammer falls, and now, the moment you've been waiting for. One such 1943 Jefferson nickel, with the Denver mint mark, brilliant luster, full steps, and a confirmed rare minting error, was sold at auction for a jaw-dropping total of $175,000. Yes, you heard that right. A 5-cent piece. Minted in 1943. $175,000, from wartime necessity to collector's trophy, this is a coin that has lived through history and emerged as a legend. So what can you do? Go check your nickels. Look through your family's old coin jars. Pay close attention to 1943 nickels with that big, bold mint mark above Monticello. Look for sharp steps, strange doubling, and perfect condition. You never know, your next treasure might not be buried in the ground. It could be sitting in a jar on your bookshelf right now. If this video opened your eyes to the incredible value hidden in everyday coins, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and tap that notification bell so you never miss out on our next deep dive into rare and valuable coins. Today, we're going to explore a small but powerful piece of American currency that has quietly earned a place in the world of serious coin collecting. It's a coin you might have seen 1,000 times before and never once thought twice about, until now. Yes, we're talking about the 1973 Jefferson nickel, a 5-cent coin that, under the right conditions and with a bit of numismatic magic, could be worth more than most people's yearly salary. You heard that right. This tiny, everyday coin, if it checks the right boxes, could be hiding a secret value that transforms it into a rare and sought-after prize. So, don't blink, because by the time we finish this video, you'll be checking every 1973 nickel you've ever come across. Let's start with a bit of background. The Jefferson nickel has been in circulation since 1938, when it replaced the Buffalo nickel. It was designed by German-American artist Felix Schlag, and despite a few design tweaks over the years, it's one of the longest-running coin designs in U.S. history. Now, 1973 wasn't exactly a turning point in U.S. history like wartime years were, but it was still a fascinating moment. The Vietnam War was winding down, the Watergate scandal was escalating, and American society was shifting in huge ways. Amid all this, the U.S. Mint was producing coins to keep the economy running, and the Jefferson nickel continued its steady role in commerce, vending machines, and pockets across the country. But not all 1973 nickels were created equal. Let's break down the design first. On the obverse side, we see the left-facing profile of Thomas Jefferson, serious and dignified. Surrounding his portrait are the inscriptions, "In God We Trust," to the left, and "Liberty," with the date, 1973, to the right. Now here's where you want to start paying attention. Just beside the date, you may see a small letter, D, for the Denver Mint, or an S, for the San Francisco Mint. If there's no mint mark, it was made in Philadelphia. That mint mark, while easy to overlook, can make a huge difference in value. Why? Because certain mints produced fewer coins, and in some cases, specific errors or varieties only occurred at one mint. Flip the coin over and you'll find the elegant structure of Monticello, Jefferson's iconic Virginia home. The reverse includes the words E pluribus unum above the building, Monticello beneath it, and 5 cents and United States of America rounding out the design. Simple, classic, and distinctly American, but what most people don't know is that in 1973, among the hundreds of millions of nickels produced, a tiny fraction emerged with extraordinary characteristics. Let's talk about what makes a Jefferson nickel from this year so valuable. First off, condition is everything. Most coins go through years, even decades, of being dropped, rubbed, scratched, and worn down. You'll find them with faded features, dull surfaces, and nicks from heavy circulation. But then, there are the exceptions. Some 1973 nickels were pulled straight from fresh mint rolls, placed into albums, or preserved in collections. These coins remain in mint state condition, meaning they were never used in circulation. These uncirculated coins are graded by professional services like PCGS or NGC on a 70-point scale. The higher the grade, the more valuable the coin. Coins graded MS65 or higher begin to fetch serious interest from collectors. But those reaching MS66, MS67, or even MS68 are true rarities, especially from the 1970s era when coin production was fast and quality control wasn't what it is today. Now, let's talk about full steps, a detail that can skyrocket a nickel's value. Monticello has steps leading up to the front entrance, right below the dome. Most nickels show these steps only partially or not at all due to weak strikes or wear. But if you find a 1973 Jefferson nickel with all 5 or 6 steps clearly visible, it receives the full steps designation, a highly prized trait among serious collectors. Next up, errors and varieties. This is where things really get exciting. While the mint aims for perfection, mistakes happen, and those mistakes are exactly what collectors dream about. A few of the most valuable 1973 Jefferson nickel errors include double die obverse, where Jefferson's portrait or the date appears to be doubled, usually visible to the naked eye. Repunched mint marks, where the mint mark was struck more than once, creating a shadow or doubling effect. Off-center strikes, where the entire design is shifted, leaving part of the coin blank. Clipped planchets, where the coin appears to have a small piece missing from the edge due to a cutting error. Die cracks and cuds, raised lines or blobs where the minting die was damaged. These error coins are true oddities. Some are so rare that they only exist in single-digit numbers, and when paired with high grades and full steps, they become legendary. Now imagine this: you're at a flea market. Someone's selling old coins in a dusty box. You spot a 1973 Jefferson nickel with a Denver mint mark. Something about it looks different, sharper, cleaner. You buy it for next to nothing, just to satisfy your curiosity. Later, you send it off to a grading company. Weeks go by, then the results come in. Your coin is graded MS67 full steps, with a confirmed double die obverse and a nearly flawless surface. You're stunned. You do some research and discover it's one of just a handful known to exist in such perfect condition. At that moment, that nickel in your hand stops being just a coin. It becomes a collectible worth more than anyone would believe. And now, for the part you've all been waiting for. One such 1973 Jefferson nickel, with a mint mark, preserved in pristine mint state condition, showcasing full steps and a rare double die error, was sold at auction for an astonishing $86,000. Yes, you heard that right. A 5-cent coin from 1973. $86,000. Let that sink in. So the next time you're sorting through your change, don't toss those nickels aside. Examine them. Look for sharp detail on Monticello. Check the date. Look for mint marks. If the coin looks uncommonly clean and perfect, or if you spot doubling, it could be worth far more than 5 cents. Today, we're turning our focus to a coin that quietly circulates through everyday life, a 5-cent piece that's been overlooked for years, but under the right conditions, could be worth more than the price of a luxury car. Yes, you heard that right. We're talking about the 1971 Jefferson nickel, a coin most people would never give a second glance. But that's exactly why this video is going to change the way you see your loose change. So grab your magnifying glass, sit back, and let's go deep into the story of this humble nickel from 1971. Because when you know what to look for, what seems like an ordinary coin could actually be a collector's dream. Let's set the scene. The year was 1971. America was in the middle of a cultural shift. The Vietnam War was still ongoing, but voices for peace were growing louder. NASA had just completed its Apollo 14 mission, and disco was beginning to shake up the music scene. Meanwhile, in pockets across the country, a simple 5-cent coin was exchanging hands millions of times a day. This was the Jefferson nickel, a coin that had been in production since 1938, honoring Thomas Jefferson, the third U.S. president, principal author of the Declaration of Independence, and the visionary behind the Louisiana Purchase. The design had remained mostly unchanged since its introduction, and by 1971, the mint was churning out millions to keep up with demand. Let's talk about that design. On the obverse side, you see a classic profile of Jefferson, his features serious and distinguished. This image, designed by Felix Schlag, is flanked by two important inscriptions, "In God We Trust," on the left and "Liberty," with the date, 1971, on the right. If you look closely just beside the date, you'll see a tiny letter, the mint mark. This tiny letter can make a huge difference. The letter D stands for the Denver Mint, while an S indicates the coin came from San Francisco. No mint mark? That means the coin was minted in Philadelphia. While these marks seem minor, they can determine rarity, and, ultimately, value. Now flip the coin to the reverse side, and you'll find Jefferson's stately home, Monticello, centered beneath the motto, E Pluribus Unum. Below Monticello are the inscriptions, Monticello, 5 cents, and United States of America. The detail in the building may seem minor, but if you're a collector, the stairs at the front of Monticello are where your attention should go. Why? Because of something known as the full steps designation, Monticello has 5 or 6 visible steps leading to its main entrance. In most nickels, those steps are blended together or partially missing due to weak strikes during the minting process. But if you find a 1971 nickel where the steps are fully struck and clearly defined, that coin could qualify as a full steps example, a detail that adds significant value. Now let's get into numbers. In 1971, the mint produced nearly 316 million nickels in Philadelphia, almost 258 million in Denver, and just under 3 million proofs in San Francisco. That's a lot of coins. But most of them went straight into circulation, used, abused, tossed into jars, and forgotten in drawers. So what makes one of these nickels stand out from the crowd? It starts with condition. Coin collectors use the Sheldon grading scale, which ranges from 1, poor, to 70, perfect. A 1971 Jefferson nickel in high mint state, MS, condition, especially MS 66 or higher, is extremely hard to find. Why? Because the mint's quality control in the early 70s wasn't as refined as it is today. Even brand new coins often had bag marks, nicks, or soft strikes that disqualified them from top grades. So when a collector comes across a 1971 nickel with sharp detail, bright original luster, and no distracting marks, they found something special. But that's not all. Let's talk about errors. The 1971 Jefferson nickel, like many coins from the era, has a few varieties and minting errors that make them especially valuable. These include double die obverse, where elements like the date or inscriptions appear double due to misalignment during the striking process. Repunched mint marks, RPM, where the mint mark was stamped more than once, resulting in a slightly offset or shadowed appearance. Off-center strikes, where the coin's design is visibly shifted, leaving a blank crescent on one edge. Clipped planchets, where the coin has a noticeable curved chunk missing due to an error during blank cutting. Die cracks or die breaks, raised lines or extra blobs on the surface from worn or damaged dies. These coins are highly collectible, and some are so rare that only a handful have been found. But combine any of these errors with a high-grade condition and full steps, and now you're looking at a coin with serious value. Let's take a moment and imagine that you're going through a forgotten box of coins in your grandparents' attic. There's a plastic folder marked 1970s. You open it, flipping through nickels you've never paid much attention to. Then you see it. A 1971 Jefferson nickel. It gleams under the light. The steps on Monticello are perfectly defined. You grab your magnifier and your heart skips a beat. You think you see doubling on the date. Could it be? You send it to a grading company. The results come back, MS67 full steps with double die obverse. Suddenly, this isn't just a coin, it's an artifact. A piece of American history in perfect condition, carrying a rare error, and valued far beyond what you ever imagined. So now, Here comes the big question, just how much could a 1971 Jefferson nickel like that be worth? One example, graded in pristine condition, featuring the highly prized full steps, and bearing a mint error that sets it apart from the rest, was once sold at a major coin auction for an astonishing $83,000, yes, that's right, a Jefferson nickel, from 1971.80. $3,000, who would believe that a 5-cent coin from the pocket change of the early 70s could command a price like that? But this is the world of numismatics, where history, rarity, condition, and pure luck combine to turn simple coins into national treasures. So here's your challenge: check your change. Open those old drawers. Ask your relatives if they've got old coins hiding in storage. Because if you find the right 1971 Jefferson nickel, you may be holding something far more valuable than you ever imagined. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell so you never miss another story about coins hiding incredible value in plain sight. Thank you for joining us, and remember, sometimes the most overlooked coins turn out to be the ones that change everything. Until next time, keep hunting, keep learning, and may your next nickel be worth $83,000.